Hey, everybody. Today is Thursday, March the 29th, and you are watching FCN Prime News. I'm your anchor, Trezene, here to share your news that's happening all around social media and some other stuff that you should probably know, to make yourself a better informed contributor to all of these conversations on the internets. I've got great stories for you all today, including the huge embezzlement scandal involving Howard University's financial aid office that has Howard students livid. And I have updates on the Sacramento police shooting of Stephen Clark, particularly an introduction to his older brother, Stevante Clark, who is fighting for justice for his brother's murder. Of course, we are live from Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope, so if you're new to the program, welcome. Prime News is the flagship program of the Fifth Column Network, and you can find out all about us at thefifthcolumnnetwork.com. We're on Facebook and YouTube at /The Fifth Column Network. Prime News is on Instagram and Twitter at FCN One, which is home of news, business, and politics. While you're here, make sure to share this broadcast with your followers and don't forget to comment. I'll be reading those at the end of the broadcast. That is where the conversation gets good. All right, so it is Thursday here at FCN, so to stay tuned because we have back-to-back programming for you tonight, so stay locked in because tonight is definitely going to be a night of great programming. All right, first up, let's get into this crime and justice news. We're going to start in Indiana. In Indiana, a man has been formally charged with murder, abuse of a corpse, after they find the victim's body in a concrete grave. The body of Michael Marks, age 41, was discovered last Tuesday after police received information from a witness that led them to search a local warehouse. Marks had been missing since February the 28th. According to a probable cause affidavit, this man behind me, Jason Hancock, age 48, met Marks outside of a Family Dollar and allegedly lured him into a nearby warehouse. Hancock was reportedly angry at Marks because while Hancock was in jail, Marks stole some of his stuff from the warehouse. The witness told police that he was present at the time and saw Hancock and Marks disappear inside that warehouse. That same witness said that he heard a gunshot from inside the warehouse, and Hancock told this witness, if anyone ever asks, tell them I did this. Inside the building, the witness saw Marks's lifeless body laying face down on the warehouse floor. Based on this witness testimony and evidence found at Hancock's home, this is what happened. Hancock stripped Mark's body of his clothes, burned his clothes, smashed Mark's teeth in with a tool, scooped them out of his mouth with a spoon, and said he was going to make a necklace from those teeth. He then soaked the body in a cleaner containing lye, to liquefy the remains of his murder victim. But when that didn't work, he went to the store, bought 4 pounds of pure lye, and again, no effect. The witness said that he then tried to burn the body, but it didn't work. So he went back to the store, bought 16 bags of concrete, plywood, wooden pallets, and made a shallow grave of concrete in the warehouse. Hancock has been formally charged with murder, unlawful possession of a firearm as a serious violent felon, and abuse of a corpse. He was arrested last week in connection with that very brutal killing. Over in Iowa, 5 former CNAs have been fired for having sex with their patients. These 5 women behind me are accused of having sex with patients while working at an Iowa residential care facility between the years 2015 and 2016. The facility cares for patients with chronic mental illness, intellectual disabilities, and medical conditions. The investigation began in February when 2 court-ordered patients went missing from the facility, eventually leading authorities to discover the patient's relationships with the nursing assistants. Officers arrested 23-year-old Paige Johann Meyer and 26-year-old Megan Marie Penny in early March. An investigation then revealed that there were other workers in the facility who had inappropriate contact with their patients, so officers arrested 3 more of the former employees had already been discharged for unhealthy relationships with patients, according to a release from the sheriff's office. The ladies' names were Carolyn Marie Weidrich, age 44, Shelby Sebring, age 23, and Jamie Lee Pajo, age 33. All of them had sexual relationships with these patients while they were working at the facility, and all of them have been charged with sexual exploitation by a counselor or therapist, which is a felony. In Wisconsin, a woman has been brought up on charges after allegedly letting men abuse 2 young children for years in exchange for drugs and money. The abuse apparently started years ago when Michelle Mayer, age 39, allowed different men into her mother's home. They gave the woman meth, cocaine, and money, and in return, she allowed them to sexually and physically assault 2 children that she was trafficking, age 6 and 9. Mayer would also allow the men to photograph the children naked and would inject them with meth to keep them awake, a confidential informant told police. The same informant estimated that the abuse happened every other day for 9 years. If the children refused to cooperate, the woman would beat them, including at least one instance when she struck one of them with a baseball bat, according to that same confidential informant. Mayer faces up to 80 years in prison, and police are now investigating the men who allegedly assaulted the children. Police say a safety plan is in place to take care of the children who have been removed from that woman's home. Closing out the crime and justice segment, before our featured story for tonight, 3 executives of a Rochester-based marketing company have been charged with wire fraud in a multi-million-dollar scheme. And if you have that one cousin in your family who's always hopping on the latest money-making scheme, you have probably been invited to a few meetings with this company. Prosecutors say that Craig Jerabek, age 56, Jeb Tyler, age 44, and Jason Guck, age 42, were arrested and charged with wire fraud and conspiracy. The investigation centers around the 3 defendants who were co-founders of the company 5 Links. Started in 2001, Jerabek served as the president and CEO, while Guck and Tyler were vice presidents of the company. Jerabek left in 2015, but Guck and Tyler were still with the company as of the day of their arrest. Due to a stockholders agreement and a purchase agreement set up in 2006, compensation for these 3 men was limited, along with any bonus payments. Anything beyond that particular cap required approval by the company's board of directors. But what did they do? Starting in 2009, the 3 men set up fake shell companies and added themselves as contractors to be paid through their direct sales team. Those accounts diverted money from 5 Links into their own personal bank accounts or debit cards to circumvent the cap agreements. The diverting of the funds lasted until at least May 15th of 2015. The 3 men withheld the information about the 3 running the fake shell companies independently and together from their investors, and as a result, inaccurate corporate financial documents were issued which significantly understated the company's available cash. Investors used those statements to make decisions about their investments with 5 Links during that time. Prosecutors say as much as $4 million was lost by investors over that entire time period. Jerabek, Tyler, and Guck each face up to 20 years in prison and a fine of $250,000 if they are convicted. All right, so in the feature story for tonight, I'd like to lead in with this tweet from Power Girl at the Jazzy Bell on Twitter. There has never been a nigga named Tyrone in the entire history of niggadom who was trustworthy. Yes. We're about to talk about the trending hashtags, hashtag Tyrone Hankerson, and hashtag Howard. But first, a little background. Howard University President Wayne Frederick confirmed yesterday that financial aid officials had misappropriated funds earmarked for low-income students for nearly a decade. The announcement came one day after an anonymous blogger accused the university officials of abusing funds amounting to around $1 million in a now suspended Medium post. 6 university employees have been fired, Frederick said. He did not reveal how much financial aid had been misappropriated, though. The Medium writer alleged that Frederick had been aware of the scandal since at least May of 2017. Seemingly corroborating that account, Frederick said that he first learned about the alleged misconduct in December of 2016, and he commissioned an outside auditor to look into it, leading to a May 2017 audit report. The auditor found that university grants were given to employees who also received tuition discounts from 2007 to 2016, resulting in payments that well exceeded the cost of attendance. Here's what he says, and I quote, "An investigation of individual employee actions was completed in September 2017, and as a result, 6 employees have been fired for gross misconduct and neglect of duties. We will refer this matter for criminal prosecution as appropriate," Frederick said in a statement. He also added that he reported the problem to the Department of Education in July. The Department of Education did not respond to any requests for comment from the Huffington Post, who did break a part of this story. The Medium blogger, however, cited an unnamed student whistleblower who once worked in the financial aid office and noticed irregularities in grant dispersals. According to the Post, a different student employee at the financial aid office allegedly received more than $400,000 in financial aid awards for over 4 years. The Medium Post did give the name of this former financial aid office student employee, who is Tyrone Hankerson Jr., and said he received need-based tuition aid and a special scholarship. Social media erupted when they discovered who Hankerson was. This dude was traveling. This guy was shopping. This guy was staging elaborate photo shoots, all with need-based financial aid of low-income students at Howard University. I'm going to repeat, he did all of this with need-based financial aid of low-income students. A real-life Joanne the scammer. So many tweets poured in of Howard students sharing their very sad experiences being unable to afford to stay at Howard to finish their education because of a lack of financial aid. One tweet actually shared a screenshot of an email exchange directly with Tyrone, which was eye-opening for a number of reasons. The biggest 2 reasons being that it shows this situation is well beyond speculation, and the fact that a university allowed a student to get this close to having access to financial aid decisions and having the ability to cut financial aid checks. Here's what the email says. It says, "Good afternoon. I was emailing you in regards to my account. I wanted to see if we can continue the payment process in which my mom continues to make payments and you reciprocate the same amount monthly like last semester. Right now, I have a $6,000 balance and I need to bring that down to less than $1,000 to register for next semester's classes. If you could email me back, that would be greatly appreciated." The reply to that email is directly from Tyrone Hankerson, who, mind you, was a graduate work study student, okay? It says, "Good afternoon. The university has utilized 100% of the financial aid budget for the academic year. We will not be able to provide you with this payment option. We encourage you to look for outside scholarships during this time. If you need assistance getting started, please visit our Twitter page as we post external scholarships there. If there's any other assistance we can provide you, please feel free to contact us. We wish you the best." Holy moly, he was sending those emails knowing he stole the money. It is reported that what has many up in arms, including the Howard University Student Association, is that the school did not alert its students to this fraud until this week. The news sparked an outpouring of anger and frustration from Howard students and alumni, asking why it took so long for action to be taken. The university president assured them that the embezzlement did not result in a loss of financial aid to any students, but people are not buying it because of the incredibly horrifying experiences they have had with financial aid during the time in question. Check out this tweet here from @Cat. She tweeted, "Crazy how many students have been forced to leave the university because they lost their scholarships out of nowhere or found random balances on their account just for Howard administration to give themselves illegal payouts." Here's another tweet from Brothe_Shay Poodle. He tweeted, "The Tyrone Hankerson situation upsets me to the core because there have been so many times during my dealings with Howard, I sat up at night and cried hard because financial aid played with my livelihood. Yet dude got a smooth $430,000 without being noticed, and I want my reparations." Today, Howard U students stormed the administration building in partnership with Howard University Resist. Take a look at this footage shared by Spotlight Network on Twitter. Shoot. I should have had him stop it. Are we done with the clip? Okay, so if you haven't seen it, he actually issued a statement to the press about this entire situation. It's very long. He basically said everything is a lie, and the story that was posted in that morning fails to explain the full scope of his 7-year experience at Howard University, and it is misleading and taken all out of context. Absolutely crazy. I can read that statement later to y'all if y'all want to hear it. Financial aid fraud plagues many schools. The list of investigations by the U.S. Department of Education reveals dozens of schemes are discovered each year, and those are just the ones involving federal funds. Earlier this year, the New York Times reported that the former director of financial aid at Columbia University's Teachers College helped 3 students receive more than $600,000 in stipends from 2011 to 2017, and they weren't even enrolled in any classes. In 2016, a New York University graduate student pleaded guilty to fraudulently obtaining $1.3 million in federal student loans by submitting forged documents from doctors and landlords. As far as we know, none of those students modeled their loot in the way that Tyrone did. Howard President Wayne Frederickson says that all have been referred for criminal prosecution. What are y'all's thoughts on this subject? What questions do you all have about the situation? Do you know anyone who's been impacted by this? Let me know in those comments. One thing I do know is Hankerson is going to prison. In other news, the funeral for Stephen Clark was held today. Clark was a 22-year-old unarmed black man who was shot at 20 times by Sacramento police last week while making a phone call in his own backyard. He was hit 4 times by bullets in his back as he ran toward the back of his own house for safety. Emotions definitely were heightened at that funeral, held about 10 days after 10 days of protest in Sacramento demanding justice for the wrongful death of the young man. This week, Clark's brother, Stevante Clark, made sure he'd be heard and seen. Clark and a large group of protesters stormed a Sacramento City Council meeting Tuesday night to protest the shooting, while his fellow demonstrators filled the chamber. Yes. Oh, we're still going? Oh, great. All right, guys. We thought we had a little issue. All right, so they marched straight to the front of the room, jumped on the top of the desk right in front of the stunned council members and the mayor, and repeatedly chanted the brother's name. As the crowd joined the chant, Stevante Clark coaxed them louder and louder. I have a video clip that needs to run at this particular moment. Producers have stepped outside of the room, though, at this time. Let me tell you what the video clip actually involves. The video clip shows them storming into the city council meeting. It's led by Stevante Clark, the brother. He walks in a very fervent march. He comes in and he says, "Stephen Clark, Stephen Clark, Stephen Clark." He comes in, he actually goes through the gates, if you will, and goes and sits on the desk where the city council members are actually sitting. As he does that, a whole bunch of his fellow protesters come in the room and they're shouting Stephen Clark, and he's saying louder, louder, louder. Did it stop? Yeah, it's crashed on Facebook as well. I'm still going? I'm still going on Periscope as well? Well, you guys missed both of my clips for the Stephen Clark situation. But nevertheless, I could even post those on social media for you guys to see. Stevante Clark has been very, very fervent in demanding justice for his brother. He did an interview with Don Lemon last night, and it did not go well under any circumstances. I think Don Lemon asked him a question, and he dinged a bell. He said, "How are you doing?" He dinged a bell and sat there and looked at the camera. And Don Lemon was like, "Is there a problem?" He said, "Next question." It did not go well. Many have commented about Stevante's actions, claiming they aren't a good look. that he isn't the best face for a protest and his behavior is unbecoming. And yes, this is coming from both black and white people. Stevante's actions at his brother's funeral were no different. I won't be showing the pertinent 15-minute clip of the funeral here, but it's about an hour into the funeral where you see Stevante's very unusual funeral etiquette. What do you all think about that? Let me know in the comments. I certainly think the gentleman is definitely dealing with grief, and this is how it is just coming out. All right, so another story, R. Kelly. He's being accused again of sexually abusing a girl since she was 14 years old. The allegation, the latest in a string of allegations of sexual abuse of young women by Kelly, was made referring to another woman by former girlfriend Kitty Jones in a BBC 3 documentary that dropped last night called R. Kelly, Sex, Girls, and Videotapes. During 2 years of dating Kelly from 2011 onwards, Jones, age 34, says she was groomed by him and forced to have sex with him and others at least 10 times in a sex dungeon. She says, and I quote, "I was introduced to one of the girls that he told me he trained since she was 14. Those were his words. I saw that she was dressed like me, that she was saying things I'd say, and her mannerisms were like mine. That's when it clicked in my head that he had been grooming me to become one of his pets. He calls them his pets," unquote. Jones said Kelly made the unnamed woman crawl on the floor towards her and perform oral sex on her. It is unclear how old the woman was at the time of this incident. Kelly nor his representatives have made any comment to BBC, but he has previously denied accusations of sexual impropriety or violence against women. In 2008, Kelly was found not guilty of child porn charges after he was accused of filming and photographing sexual encounters with a 14-year-old girl. He has reportedly made out-of-court settlements with various other women, including the 1996 Tiffany Hawkins, who said she had a sexual relationship with him for 3 years from the age of 15. In the BBC documentary, Jones says Kelly was, quote, "very abusive physically, mentally, and verbally, and believes he gets some sort of satisfaction within himself knowing that he's taking control over other people." In July 2017, Jones, along with 3 other women, spoke out against Kelly for an investigation by reporter Jim DeRogatis for BuzzFeed News, in which they accused him of brainwashing a series of women in a cult-like setup where Kelly required them to have sex with him and controlled what they wore and when they could use the bathroom or when they could use their phones. Kelly has denied the claims, of course, saying he would work diligently and forcibly to pursue his accusers and clear his name. Elsewhere in the documentary, Kelly's ex-manager Rocky Bivens stated that he was at the secret wedding ceremony between the singer and fellow R&B star Aaliyah, who was 15 at the time. Kelly has in the past denied that marriage as well. Kelly is one of the most successful R&B singers of all time, having scored 6 U.S. #1 albums, with 7 more reaching the top 5, which hits include Bump and Grind, I Believe I Can Fly, and the Ignition remix. His success, though, has waned over recent years. However, he hasn't had a single in the U.S. top 20 since 2007. All that means it is time for Robert Sylvester Kelly to go. In my final story for tonight, do you guys remember #FelonBay? Of course you do. Police arrested Jeremy Meeks, for those who don't remember, who was once a part of the Crips in 2014 for being convicted felon in possession of a weapon, a federal charge which he later faced and was convicted of, along with grand theft. They also unintentionally handed him a new career by posting this mugshot on Facebook as proof of their so-called Operation Ceasefire success, which captured that bone structure and the blue eyes that went viral. And it had him discovered for his modeling potential. His modeling career has since been incredibly successful, which all apparently led him to leave his dutiful wife, Melissa Meeks, because he upgraded to being coupled with Chloe Green, the daughter of a British retail billionaire. Yes, an inheritance of $1 billion. He couples up with her. Jeremy Meeks and Chloe Green are now expecting a child together. Us Weekly exclusively reported the pregnancy news this past Monday, which is less than a year than Meeks, who's 34, and Green, who's 27, were first seen together last summer. At the time, Meeks was still married to his now ex-wife, who quickly filed for separation. By the next month, Meeks was publicly declaring his love for Green, a feeling that's clearly mutual. Like Meeks, Green has seemingly been able to stop posting on social media about their love for each other and calling them her, my everything and her partner in crime. Whereas Meeks has a son already and 2 stepchildren with his ex-wife. For Green, this baby will be her first child. This story will certainly be updated because, trust me, this story arc is destined to be interesting and destined to have some devastating developments. All right, that is my final story for tonight. We're going to head to the Facebook to see if we had any comments, at least from our prior broadcast. Did y'all guys see any comments? Because on my screen, I can't see them. No?
Yes, there were plenty of comments.
Man.
Yep. So from one Anthony Williams, there is she's not a woman. That explicit word is a monster for doing that to those kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
He also continued with, they giving up top in mental health homes. I'm committing myself tomorrow.
Who said that?
No one did.
No one said
Gabrielle German on Facebook said, I just knew those pictures were memes. Oh my Lanta.
What you talking about?
I have no idea. I just knew those pictures were memes.
Probably of not Stephen Clark, of Tyrone Hankerson, because people made so many memes of him, particularly a lot of Joanne the Scammer memes. Yes. You know, so no, those are all real. Those were all taken from his Instagram and his blog, which have all since been deleted. He's deleted his social media. He has deleted his blog. He got rid of everything. He ended up hiring a lawyer who has a divinity degree. And if you go on social media and read the statement his lawyer put out, it reads just like a Baptist preacher wrote it. A whole bunch of alliterations, a whole bunch of blaming blaming the victim. It's all bad. It's all bad, Gabrielle German. It's all real.
Then Tanisha Superfan, Tanisha D. Newman Pruitt said they owe those kids an education. They need to let them go for free.
Yikes. You know, it's crazy because Howard's already was in danger of losing its accreditation, if I'm not mistaken. They already had financial troubles at the school, and now you got a situation like this. Like, how are you going to make restitution when you already broke? This is all bad. It's all bad. I feel bad for those students. That's it. All right, y'all. Well, that's a wrap for Prime News today. Stay tuned. Starlight K. Mathis will be here for the Thursday wind down featuring myself and Gabby German. And then after that, it will be True Baller Thursday with the Reggie Mathis and guest host, The Revolution. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and follow on our YouTube, which is the Fifth Column Network, our Facebook, the Fifth Column Network, as well as FCN_Prime on Instagram and Twitter. With that, I thank you guys all for watching, and I will see you next time.